with such a massive drop-off in the second week for BVS, projections are suggesting that the film might just even struggle to break even. Even struggle to break even? Yeah, I forget it. Anyway, how did such a hot property get such a cold response? I'm not a critic, but I'm not a comic book fan either. I like films. I like all kinds of films. I'm a film fan. To be fair, I struggle with the abstract stuff and the straight-to-video, but everything else is worth a shot. People say that the critics have got it in for BVS, but you have to appreciate a critic is going to be watching it alongside The Revenant, The Room, Zootopia, 10 Cloverfield Lane, so they're going to compare it to that. And people have tried to ascribe a lot of different reasons for why people don't like the film, things like tone, but let's just be fair. The Batman trilogy has a dark tone, and that didn't affect anybody. And dream sequences don't plummet people's views. Take a look at films like Trainspotting or Jacob's Ladder. There are loads of films out there with dream sequences and it has no effect. And even trailers jammed into the middle of the film aren't going to jettison the score. I mean, Marvel have a lot of forward-looking references in their films. I've listened online for a week now, and I've heard a lot of different reasons from a lot of different people as to why they didn't like this film. But I think it comes down to a core reason. It's just so obscured and engulfed that some people are grabbing hold of other things that probably wouldn't be a deal breaker if this one thing was okay. So let's wind it back a second. Great films all have common elements. They've got a simple concept and a great plot. Now obviously vital to that plot being told well is the editing. But before you've hired an actor or hammered a nail into a set, you need to nail down the story. I mean, that's the A of the ABCs of film. Now, if you don't mind about the story and you're giving props for CGI, pre-existing passion for characters and Easter eggs, then that's going to massively elevate the score. Now, I've heard people say that The Flash, Aquaman, Cyborg, Darkseid, the Parademons and flash-forward sequences affected the critics' reviews, but even the harshest critic is going to allow 6 to 7 minutes worth of sequences that don't make a lot of sense in a 2-hour and 22-minute film about characters that are soon to be visited. But what derails a film for a film fan or a critic is when a main character is written poorly. Now, I didn't go to film school, so I might have a different way of looking at film, but to me, a film is about a concept first and then a plot. Now, the concept is what this film is about. The plot is the pieces of the puzzle that have to be linked together in order to bring the concept to fruition. Now, don't get me wrong, audiences don't go in thinking about concepts, but scriptwriters have to. You know, when you ask someone, oh, what's the film about? They normally start giving you the plot. But to me, that's not what the film's about. To me, the concept is the answer to the question, what is the film about? It's about an alien invasion. It's about an archaeologist who goes on an adventure to find relics. It's a coming-of-age adventure story in space. It's about a guy getting a 1,000,000-to-1 shot. It's about an extraordinary life led by a simple man. Hell, Gladiator was smart enough to put its concept on the poster. Concepts are very general. Plot is this happens, which causes that to happen, which causes this to happen. Man of Steel got a lukewarm reception from critics, so what's the concept? It's about an alien discovering what his place is on Earth. And what's the plot? Well, there are two stories. First, parents on a dying planet send their son to Earth. He's raised by loving foster parents, but he's got to discover why he was sent to Earth, and so he travels America to find clues. He secretly uses his superpowers for good while he's searching for his destiny. The second story, a scientist steals the code for life on a dying planet and sends it to Earth with his son, hoping to save the legacy of his planet. An official considers this treason and hunts the son, who he finds on Earth, to get back the legacy. When the official finds him, he wants to kill everyone on Earth and start again. The son has to stop him. Now, the bits in red require a further fact. He's genetically been engineered to do this, and so that's going to have to be explained in exposition. Basically, someone's got to write that in because the audience aren't going to guess it. So I'd call that a plot device. Without it, we wouldn't understand why the guy was doing these things, and we wouldn't understand his motivations. To me, that's the basic stripped down structure. It flows, and it's pretty easy to say. You get a great writer to create choice scenes to give depth to the basic plot using other characters, you're programming your CGI, and you're away at the races. And the more you develop the characters around a really basic plot, the higher the number goes up. Check out the Nolan DC film. Lots of character development in the first two. Yeah, okay, it wobbles a little bit in the third, but by that stage he'd done so much work with main characters, You know what? The critics largely forgave him. Look at Pulp Fiction. It's really just 2 days in the lives of 2 small-time criminals. But when you develop the characters in the way that he did, you get a classic. But the point is, good films have a basic premise and then you add characters. Now let's look at BVS. What's the basic concept? What's the film about? It's a rivalry? It's about conflicting doctrines? It's about... For the life of me, I can't tell you what this film is about. Not in a short sentence. If you say, well, it's about Batman and Superman fighting, well, firstly, that's not what the film's about. But secondly, that requires knowledge of the characters. And relying on knowing these 2 characters, rather than a good concept, is the first, primary, alpha, and any other word that means #1 mistake. I mean, is this what happened? Okay, guys, I've got this cool concept. Wouldn't it be amazing if Batman and Superman fought? Yeah, make it happen. Well, this is what needed to happen. Yeah, it would. But why are they fighting? You see, the concept of 2 people fighting needs a short because. Now, I can tell you what the source material, The Dark Knight Returns, is about. It's about an old man wanting to change his world. It's about making things right and not being stopped by anyone, no matter who they are. It's got a Gran Torino-ness to it, like a Harry Brown feel. You see, BVS isn't about the fight, is it? The fight happens, but it's not about the fight. And if you can't answer the concept question, then this film isn't going to support a heavy plot because it's built on shoddy foundations. And side plots and spin-offs and Easter eggs are just weighing down on a weak foundation. Now let's look at plot, but in order to avoid bias, I need to strip away 70 years worth of marketing and bankable characters and just get you to look at the plot. Here's a test. If the storyline was just an average bloke named Bill who lost his parents at a young age and hasn't gotten over it. He goes to a friend's party, but before he arrives, he hears shooting next door. 2 immigrant gang members firing at each other. A stray bullet kills his friend. He then saves a little girl from a stray bullet, but her mother's been killed, reminding him of being orphaned. One of the shooters dies in the gun battle. The other shooter isn't brought to justice because he claims self-defense. This eats away at Bill, and he's obsessed and ruminates about the immigrant until 18 months later, he snaps and decides he's going to kill him. He beats him to a pulp, and just before he's about to kill him, the immigrant's girlfriend begs for his life, and he stops seeing an immigrant and sees a man. Now, would I watch that movie as a character study of displaced and projected anger and rage? Yeah, I would. I think the story's intriguing. If it was well written and well acted, I think it was great. I love films like Falling Down and The Machinist, so that's down that line. Now here's the second story. Now remember, would you watch this as a totally different film? An immigrant named Jim, sitting in his house with his family, and a gunman comes in. Now he grabs his gun to protect them, and a gun battle ensues, and a stray bullet kills some people next door. But Jim kills the intruder. Now to me, that's an interesting start, but that's not the film. That's the end of a different film. An immigrant named Jim is hailed as a bit of a neighbourhood hero because he saves his family from a home invasion, although an innocent woman was shot next door. Now he's a gun carrier to make people feel safe. When his girl gets into trouble one day, we think he kills the assailant. Maybe. Jim has a secret enemy though, who hates him and makes it look like he stabbed some other people, although Jim carries a gun. Jim goes to the police station to explain that he was set up, and then the police station blows up. This makes him sad because his actions aren't making people safer. Coincidentally, Jim dislikes another vigilante who's also a bit of a folk hero because he thinks he's a bit too rough, and he then tries to bully him into stopping. Then Jim's sister gets kidnapped by his secret enemy, and he's told that he's either got to kill the other vigilante or his sister dies. Jim goes off to either convince him to help him save his sister, or he thinks he's going to have to kill him. Jim does a very bad job of convincing him. In fact, Jim's about to get himself killed, so he asks the vigilante to save his sister. By name. As luck would have it, she shares the vigilante's dead mum's name, and then his girlfriend steps in just to explain that, and then the fight's over. Now even writing out and saying it is complete garbage. It's just convoluted, it's convenient, it's just rubbish. It's a straight-to-DVD action flick. Now, I love action, but there's a reason why those videos go straight to DVD. It's because People don't watch them in the cinema, and they get bad reviews on Rotten. Jean-Claude's done a boatload of these types of films, and they're so bad, YouTube can't even be bothered to enforce the piracy laws against them. Now that story in a film with Average Jim called Triple Jeopardy, would you watch it? And scrubbing out Jim and putting Cal doesn't make it any better. It just means it gets a cinema release. Now special effects can make it entertaining, and dropping references into other well-known characters can make it intriguing. But at bottom line, you've got an awful storyline with Jim. You see, Easter eggs and whole future setup scenes are cool, but you gotta earn the right to put them in. And you do that by getting the basics right. Now personally, I think there's something amazing about owning a series of films, and once it's all done and you go back and watch them all from the beginning, you've got these little treats and surprises sprinkled all the way through. You know, it's great to watch how smart the writers were to like weave in stories at the beginning that actually only make sense at the end. But in a film about two main characters fighting, you've got to be able to write a decent story about both main characters. If you can't do that, then you're going to reduce my faith in you to write a compelling overall story arc. If you can't do that, then I'm going to be less inclined to think that you're constructing some kind of amazing masterpiece that will all be revealed in the fullness of time, and more, you're on a smash and grab loot mission trying to get as much cash as possible before the audience works out what's going on. Now I've heard that the studio had a 3-hour and 5-minute version, which was well received, and they cut it down by 45 minutes for theatrical release because they thought it was just too long. Listen, Warner, or whoever, don't do me no favours, and don't patronise us. I've got a pretty good attention span, and so do a lot of other people. We've paid our money, show us the complete film. If you've got this genuine benevolence for people with ADD, that's fine, then put 2 versions out. Put a short version out, and then put a longer version out. But you and I both know you aren't going to get many people in that short version, so don't play me the fool. But I don't think studio executives are that altruistic. They did it because they wanted to get more showings per day so they could get more cash. And if getting more cash was more important than a completed film, then they deserve the reviews. And if those same reviews and words of mouth have kept people away in the 2nd and 3rd weeks, then dry your eyes. You poured it on yourself. Oh, and if you think you're going to make it better by promising some ultimate cut on Blu-ray, think again. Everyone who's watched this film has either gone to or is at school and has had to write an essay. Imagine trying to get a passing grade by saying you're going to turn in a half-finished product and say, oh no, don't worry, I'll send you the complete version of the essay in 6 months. That right there is marketing speak for you paid once for an incomplete film, now I want you to pay again to get the complete version. And the only reason why you were able to get us to pay the first time was because you had 70 years worth of name recognition with the characters. That's low. Now, I don't play computer games, but I've heard that that industry tries these same kind of dirty tactics as well. A lot of people just accept it as the price of doing business to get entertained by a beloved character. But you know what? To me, this doesn't make good business sense. But you didn't make 400 million worldwide in a weekend, so what do you know? Maybe they don't care about that. But if they don't break even, then maybe they will. Let me know what you think. Is it okay to release an incomplete film in order to make more money? Oh, and while you're thinking about it, hit the thumbs up, and if you like my vibe, please subscribe. I'm just selling a bike with no back brake, half a saddle and like 30 spokes missing, and then saying I'll give the rest of you in 6 months. Jokers.